think about. Another question for you, Pratik, was with your Groupons and Scoopons, I was just wondering, how does this fit with the competitors, right? In terms of what are they doing, is there any examples of these guys using that? Is it effective? Does it fit? Does it work for St. Luke's Innovative Resources? Is it something you can provide? Just a few throwaway lines like the competitors have tried this, or I don't know, just something that helps to make it legitimise. I suppose it's about legitimising the idea.
Say that about 8 million views in a month.
Yeah, bring some stats to it. Bring some things that are sitting beneath your idea to provide a recommendation. I thought that might help around the group on Scoopon. Gabrielle again. So good speaking voice. So one of the things I noticed, Gabrielle, is that you sort of weaved in and out and in and out a lot, and I started to get a little bit confused around that. You mentioned about the fortified forces. I was wondering sort of how did it fit into your presentation. Not sure. It sort of seemed to lose a little bit, and it gets tricky with timing. Once you hit the midway point, there's a lot of stuff going on, and without a slide pack or something that helps provide a structuring, and I think your poster will help provide a structuring as well, right? But without something, I got a little bit lost. Dennis, you talked about training fees. You've got a good, strong voice, but again, I was a little bit lost. Lost generally is what happened for me, Jack. I'm not sure, what was your recommendation? You know, I was a bit lost. Tristy, nice strong voice. You mentioned about your recommendation was to use apps. But I was thinking, but no suggestion of what or why, really. So there was no, it was just like, yes, you should use apps. And I was thinking, yes, but like it's like we should go and drink coffee or something. Like it's a very general, vague sort of recommendation, and there's no concrete, specific example or application as to why. And if you don't have that, then why say use apps? Apart from maybe your recommendation is, why don't you investigate the use of using apps? Right? So if you think it's an opportunity, do that, as opposed to say you should use apps. And then you go, well, which apps? And you go, I don't know, but you know, I think you should use apps. So generally, good job, guys. 15 minutes was your timing, so spot on there with time. Opportunities probably to look at structure and how to use maybe a slide pack or something to help amplify what your key message is. I guess at the end, have a conclusion that wraps it up and says, like Lucky 5 did, you know, here we go, these are our key recommendations, blah, 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 etc. And then at least they can sort of start. Because if you think about it, the conclusion's really important because you want to open up some conversation, right? If you peter away and there's nothing, then it's question time. Where are they going to go? But if you start by saying, well, we've talked about this, this, and this. Those are the key things. Yep. And then you can say, well, what do you think? You know, you want to somehow open up the conversation. Yeah. So. Well, you've got 0 for your poster, and
got 0 for the poster.
Looks like you're sitting around a credit.
Oh my God, we're gonna be both.
Probably a low credit. Okay, absentees. And you guys are living up to your name, aren't you? Doing a good job with being absent. But maybe are you recording me on your iPhone so you can show your other guys?
Yeah.
Give them some feedback. All right. Good. We'll say hi to Josh and everyone else at the absentees. Living up to your name there. Okay. Firstly, your timing was 18 minutes. Okay. So you were actually I suppose you were the 3rd longest running group. So 18 minutes. You might need to revise. Look, you did a good job. I know you went from not presenting at all to getting up here and giving it a shot. All right, so well done on that. Again, you'll need to do some work in terms of preparing things, but let's go through this. So Peter, good intro of the team. I like the use of humour. Good to see some enthusiasm. I was wondering if there might be too much of a sell in the enthusiasm, and what you can do is focus really on letting your content do the sell. Okay, so letting the content do the sell. I noticed, Peter, you were wandering around on the stage quite a lot, kind of pacing, so you can actually be a little bit more purposeful in your movement. Maybe that was because you were improvising and going like that. So anyway, good to see you go over the project brief. Umar, strong voice, confidence, you spoke well. There's some improvements around use of structure, for example, to help support your presentation. Be clear on your key points and the reasoning behind. So again, this is a general sort of recommendation. How do you amplify your message? So amplify your message using a poster, whiteboard, and slides, for instance. Okay, so if you want to amplify your message, Lou, you talked about price of training. I was a little bit like the Renegades. I became a bit lost and unclear as to what your recommendation actually was, and maybe you can use structure of the presentation to actually help you out with that. And ask yourself, what's my key points? Okay, this is true for everyone who's presenting. Know what your key points are when you stand up to present. How does this fit into the rest of the presentation? Yeah? And you used your notes a lot, so, and maybe that's because you didn't have a slide pack or any supporting materials, right? So having some supporting materials might help you. Nicola, you talked about online training. I think you were reading the report section of your particular piece, which was good because what else do you have to work from? So some improvements around knowing your material so you can talk authentically and be free to engage with the audience. So generally know your material, know what you're on about. Yeah. You kind of, it was good to hear you talking about an idea for a game, but it seems like you lost heart around what that idea for the game was and let that one go. So you really need to ask yourself, what is the idea? You know, what's the rationale behind the idea for the game? Why bother? Okay, Visa, strong voice, clear on stating what your recommendations are. So actually you did a good job for your team in terms of you being clear on what your particular recommendations are. Yeah. I put in here, so your group was missing a conclusion and a wrap-up, obviously, but I put in here that you could use your PowerPoint slide creation process as a way of getting your team on the page. Okay, it seems like you need to get you guys all on the same page, so you can use that creating the PowerPoint to help you sort of figure out what are you all talking about and help your structuring through that. So. But good job getting up and giving it a go. We went from nothing to something, so that's good. Now you can go from something to the next stage. Okay. Generation X. Okay, so now you guys, your presentation ran for